Welcome to the Smart Connector group and the Smart Connector podcast. It's a Thursday evening and we're live here on the group with Filip Fucic. And Filip is a pricing consultant who helps experts charge what they're worth and actually achieve it. And he's been focusing on pricing exclusively for the last 4.5 years of his career. And in that time, he's helped over 150 people raise their prices and achieve their true value. Now, most independent professional practices and technical experts never achieve a price close to their value simply because, however good they are in their field of expertise, they rarely have the skills and the toolkit for assessing what price the market will actually accept. So, this is a really, really important topic for experts and entrepreneurs. And I am delighted to welcome Filip to the show. Welcome, Filip.
Hi. Hello, Jane. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So you're in Croatia, aren't you, Filip, first of
Yes.
all? But you've worked all over the world. Would you like to tell our audience where your clients are and where they come from?
Absolutely. So, since Corona basically launched me inadvertently to foreign markets, because suddenly it was possible to give consulting advice over Zoom, which was not a thing before. I have worked, well, now I can say all over the world, from Canada and US on the one side, through most of 5 countries in Western Europe, and then South Africa, and then Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia. So
Global.
worldwide.
Yeah, you have a global business, Filip. So congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's amazing. So we're going to just really focus on this whole issue of pricing tonight because it's so, I don't know about you, but everywhere I see this whole message about charge what you're worth. And then obviously I talk to a lot of people that I say, well, how much do you charge for what you do? And they say, well, I charge this. And it's like they plucked a figure out of the air, or they have had somebody convince them, you're worth it. You're worth it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
well, aren't you really worth what the market will pay, right?
Absolutely.
So we need to really look at this topic and look at it upside down and inside out and get into it, because it's not just, we're not living in L'Oreal Fantasyland, are we really, when we're selling our services? So, yeah.
For sure. I usually say, most, if we're going to be really honest here, um, most people's pricing is guesswork and
Yeah.
copying other people's guesswork, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's where it stops.
Makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
uh, um, it's I mean, it's definitely a feature all over the world that people get taught how to do architecture, how to do law, how to do coding, or consulting or coaching, but not really how to understand markets for that service, or how to construct the price. So what usually happens is that somebody, this is the most common thing, somebody works for somebody else, and then they say, well, my boss is getting like 75% of what the client pays, and I'm the one doing it, so I might as well, right, try it. um, and then of course they can't, they don't even try to get the same price like their employer did, or they do but they fail. And then what? And then you phone up some colleagues and you say, man, how much would you charge for this? And then maybe they give you good advice, or maybe they give you bad advice, and maybe they want to give you good advice but give you bad advice, or vice versa, and you're never gonna know which one is which. um so maybe they're honest, maybe they're not, and then you eyeball the other people, and then, as you said, somebody says, but you're worth so much more, and then you try, and then the client shoots you down, and then Corona comes, and everybody says, I don't have any money, so you drop your price, but how much do you drop your price? It's all
Mhm.
guesswork and copying other people's guesswork.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right, and there's no science to it really, is there? As you said, it's just, it's kind of finger in the air a lot of the time, really, isn't it?
Unfortunately.
So can you, and also the other thing before we get on to the science of pricing, if you like,
Yes.
there's also the intangible value of brand, isn't there? Because that is uh, brand is measurable, and I know that because I'm a brand expert, and I know that I used to work for one of the leading brand agencies in the world, so they actually there are reports and surveys that come out which actually value brands financially, and there is a process to do that. But that before we get on to the more nuts and bolts stuff, the brand is also it matters, doesn't it? Are you not who Google says you are?
Today, absolutely, absolutely, you are. I mean, maybe not for some people who established their business before and they have 16 books and keynote speeches and but for more regular people, which is 99.9%, it's you can cease to exist basically,
Yes,
or close to that, because if you have to rely on, I call them meat markets, like Fiverr and stuff, where you just compete on price, then you're
yes,
just one potato among many potatoes, and it's just a question of how much, right?
yes, yes,
And
exactly.
that absolutely should not be the only difference between two experts,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely, because then it becomes a race to the bottom, right? That's what you're saying. Yes.
And it's really really bad to race to the bottom with the Philippines or Bangladesh
Absolutely. Well, totally. In
or
a part.
Croatia.
Well, totally, yes, because the cost of living is kind of massively varies throughout the world, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So, but the thing is with the internet is that your competition is just a click away, right? So okay, well, we will get on to brand, after we've talked about some other things because I think that it's just critical as well. Um,
Mhm.
but let's just talk about this thing about, okay, the science of pricing. So how do you actually kind of say, well, how much should I charge and base it on some kind of factual data? What kind of things should experts be looking at in order
Okay.
to elevate their prices to the maximum level without losing business? I guess that's the core question, isn't it?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, it's the old Monty Python joke, right? I'm going to show you how to play the violin, right? You put it like this, and you take this bit, and you go like, now you know how to play the violin, right? So everybody knows how to raise the price. You just take your number and get a higher number, and now charge that, right? It's like, everybody can jump out of an airplane. Oh, surviving that. Oh no, no, that's a completely different question.
I
So
like that analogy. Yeah, that's great.
so there's basically three ways on which you can base your price if we're going to get sciencey. The first one and the most known one, not exclusively used, but in like maybe 60 to 70% of is the input based. So I need 16 hours to do that. So 16 times something is the price, right? That's the input price. Then we have the output price. You're going to get a document of 10 pages, right? Or you are going to get a 30-minute speech, which doesn't matter how long it takes me to write that speech or rehearse that speech. You're going to get 30 minutes of speech. That's
Mhm.
output. And then you have something that is popular but fuzzy, which is value based, which is that old joke, where somebody fixes the whole um, complex by banging with a big wrench somewhere, and everything starts working, and then he charges them 10,000 of something dollars. It doesn't really matter, and it's 10,000 for like 10 seconds. He said, no, 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 no. It's $1 for the bang, and the rest is for me knowing where to hit, right?
Ah,
um
yeah.
so um that's the ideal, and many people talk about it. But value is a very slippery word,
Hmm.
and of course it can be measured, but it's really inadvisable for the expert to try to measure it
Uh-huh.
without the client being present and basically leading the calculation. Otherwise, you get in this situation where let's say somebody knocks on your door and says, "Hello, I'm a roofing expert. You have a really expensive problem on your roof. You should pay me to fix that." Go away, right? Um, so um,
That's quite fun.
maybe he's right, but he has a conflict of interest in being right, so you're
Yeah.
not going to believe him, right?
No.
So the best way for experts to get to their price is to first take charge of their input costs and know that whatever they're going to charge should
Mhm.
never go below that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's the foundation, and the foundation is very important, but it won't keep you warm at night. So the upper part, right? That's complicated in Facebook terms. That's complicated, but um, that's going to depend on the value that you provide. But
Yeah.
the part of the value that matters is the part that the client can understand and
Yeah.
perceive. And now the whole science, if you would like to call it that, um, is about value communication. And my work is mostly about value communication,
Hmm.
because there are ways in which you can express value. Sometimes it's called pitching, sometimes it's called differently. Um, but the brand is absolutely a part of that, right?
Yes.
The tangibility of it. Um, it's all focused around making the client understand enough value that he wants to pay for it, because nobody wants to pay for something that they don't see that they're getting, even if objectively they're definitely getting it. You know that as an expert.
Yes.
But I call it the expert's paradox. People who can appreciate you, who can value you correctly, are your colleagues. So brand experts know how excellent you are, right? But almost by default, you're not going to work for them. They don't need you.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who can appreciate you don't need you. People who need you don't appreciate you. Because
Yeah.
if they did that, they would be experts and wouldn't need you. It's a
Very,
paradox.
very, very good point. Definitely. And of course, selling B2B as well, it's not an emotional thing. When you're selling B2C, people will make emotional decisions, but B2B, I have some consultants that are clients, and they are expected to justify, they have to justify their prices because quite often there are multiple stakeholders, aren't there? So they have to take those messages and those statistics. They can't, they don't have the luxury of making that emotional decision, do they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you technically have to recruit them to
Mm.
sell for you,
Yeah.
and you have to give them the very good reasons to be sure that they're not going to lose face by trying to promote you, right?
Yes, yes, it makes so much sense. And of course, when you give them hard data, hard statistics, all of those kind of things, then you're arming them, aren't you, with tools to do
Uh,
that job.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
And some clients of mine, after they were done, um, with my program asked me if I would sell for them something. So, and I always declined that because I say I'm an let's say I'm an arms dealer, not a soldier, right? I arm people and I enable them to be effective. This is a very poor comparison now
Well,
because of the whole situation.
yes.
I must think of a new one. But for now, I'm just saying this is the difference between. So yes, all of these things should be built as tools. Let's not call them weapons anymore. Let's call them tools.
Yeah.
Tools for your allies within the client organizations, so that they can benefit from understanding the value that they're going to get from you
Yeah.
and do the right thing in choosing you and not somebody cheaper, because
Yes.
that's always the thing, right? It's if they don't see any difference, of course they're going to go with the cheaper one.
Yes.
um if they're not, I'm going to say, afraid. um Let me simplify. Let's say that by law your firm has to have a black box somewhere in the lobby.
Yeah.
That's the law, right? So you have to go get it, and you go get it, and there's two of them. They're slightly different. The materials are different. You can't really tell which one is better made or anything. One is 150 pounds, and the other is 300. Now, instinctively, since you just have to have a black box, and this one is cheaper, most people will go with the cheaper one. But let's say in this example that oh, just before they touch any of the boxes, they get an SMS, they get a message, a WhatsApp, and it says, "Watch out! One of these may explode if you touch it." Now, which one would you choose, Jane? In this case,
Well, I wouldn't touch any of them.
okay, but you have to touch one of them. It's the law.
So I think I would probably touch the first one.
The 150 or the 300 one?
Well, with the 150.
Okay. Why?
Well, because if something's going to explode, then you don't want to have the big one explode, do you?
Oh, sure, but they're the same size.
The
They're
same
the exact
size.
same size.
Well, I don't really know.
Most people would go with the 300 one, and let
Okay.
me tell you why.
Yeah.
I posed this question on many places. This is
Okay.
not an exclusive here,
Yeah.
um, because if it's a thing that you buy in a shop, right? So the thinking is the 300 one must be better in some way. There's less of a chance of it exploding, right? I guess. So if I touch the 300 one and it explodes, I would say, well, I used up all of the information that I had. I had a 50-50 chance and I blew it. And if I touch the cheaper one, I would say, well, what was I thinking? Which one would blow up? The one who is the one which is cheaper, right?
Mhm.
There's always a bigger chance that the default thinking is that the bad thing is always in the cheaper one.
Mm.
But as long as you don't think that the choice is important, you
Yeah.
just choose one of them, you'll choose the cheaper one. But
Mhm.
as you start to see the choice as important, you
Uh-huh.
may, in absence of any other information, choose the more expensive one. This is a very simple thing, but it's part of human nature.
Yeah, and these purchasing decisions are very, very linked to human psychology, aren't they? Any
Yes.
form of sales. And in fact, marketing as well, it's all based on an understanding of human psychology, isn't it?
Yes.
And that
And
is, of course, what also makes it so fascinating, right?
absolutely. Psychology and the new field, fairly new field of behavioral economics, which is basically economics mixed with psychology, or as they also call it, and I really like that, the economics of humans, because classical economics, which is my field, I studied that,
Mhm.
business school graduate. We learned about econs. Uh, those are perfectly rational robot-like humans who always do the rational thing and are very consistent, right? So nothing to do with humans at all.
No, because we're not consistent in that way, are we?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Um, and the differences are stark. Anyway, yes, yes.
Very
Um,
interesting. So in terms of choice, Philip, what do you think about giving people a choice? Do you think if you are, we're talking about experts here, right? Experts,
mhm,
consultants, in particular, coaches, expert, service providers, freelance people, anybody who is selling their services.
mhm.
Um, do you think they should offer their clients choices? So should they say, well, you can get this package for this price, or you can get that package for that price? Do you think there's merit in doing that? Or do you think it is better to say, well, this is my recommendation and this is the price?
So I would absolutely advocate for the choices, and let me tell you why. In human
Mhm.
psychology,
Okay.
um, we buy things, we decide things on which to buy, depending on the alternatives, not
Yes.
necessarily competitors, but alternatives for sure.
Yes.
And if you give somebody only one choice, they will try to find an alternative somewhere else.
Aha.
So there's basically no choice whether they're if they're going to have a choice or not, unless you're a monopoly. And
Yes.
I'm guessing that none of your viewers or listeners are monopolies.
No.
Um, not typically, yes. They're always going to have a choice, and sometimes that choice is not even going to be sensible because they don't always know what they need. Experts' clients always know what they want, but
Hmm.
not necessarily what they need to be done for that to happen, right?
Yes.
If somebody asked me to scope my own brain surgery, right? Well, you open this bit up, maybe give me a shave first, and then you cut out the bad part, right? That's it. And what about the skull? Oh, yeah, the skull. Oh, what do you do with the skull? I don't know. I forgot about the skull, right?
Yeah. But
Um,
I know I need the surgery.
yeah, that's it, right? I
Yeah.
want the bad part out. You figure the steps out and you tell me how much that costs. Um, but I know what I want, not necessarily what I need. Um, and because of that, I can have, as a client, I can have pretty bad feeling about what else can I do here, right?
Yeah.
Um, I had a wonderful client who works with um, middle-aged women who have done everything in their life which life required of them. So they have a career and they have a family and they have and they're still not happy. And she helps them, and that's wonderful. And then we were talking about competition, and and she said, professor this and institute that, and yes, yes, absolutely. And I said, and what about fortune tellers? What do you mean? Well, who goes to fortune tellers? Well, okay, mostly women. Well, okay, mostly middle-aged women. And why? Because they're unhappy. So the same people with the same problem go to somebody else. And she got really mad at me because she said, "That's not my competition. I mean, fortune tellers can't really help my people, right? My audience." And I said, "You know that. But to most of your typical clients, it's a 50-50 chance if you get promoted or Madame Midnight, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't help that you're right." And she is absolutely right. She is stunning. She has a PhD. She's wonderful, and she's wonderful for her clients. But they don't know that until they actually get there. And a lot of them go into side streets and go try and solve the same problem on way that is absolutely not competition not in the same industry, but
Yes.
in the same market. It is.
Yes, yes, I completely get that. So we wouldn't think, we might look around us and we might think, well, that person's not our competition. But in fact, when you're looking at it through the pricing lens, then it's, well, okay, are they going to spend their money here or are they going to spend their money there? That feeling of unhappiness as a middle-aged woman or whatever, well, I need to solve this problem. So, I suppose arguably they could be spending it down the supermarket buying a bottle of wine every night. I mean, you could say, well, that's a
Yes.
competition as well.
Or
So,
happy pills. Yes,
yeah, all sorts of things. So it's a competition for the wallet, really. That's what pricing is all about, isn't it? Competition for the
for
credit
sure.
card.
So always give them at least two options. There are a few ways in which you can do that, but if you give them sensible options, and may I say, not just quantitatively different options, but qualitatively different options,
Yeah.
they will have less of an urge to try and compare you with something else.
Yes.
And when I say qualitatively, I mean not just, option A is you get 5 of my hours for 300, or 10 of my hours for 600. So you just um, because they don't want your hours, right? In that case,
Yeah.
they would always go with the low, because it's like saying I can solve your problem, but that's what they hear. I can solve your problem in 5 hours or in 10 hours. Five, thanks. Oh, it's even cheaper. Oh, great. Why would I ever want you to solve my problem? Because as an expert, it's not the same thing that you can do in five, but they don't know that, right?
Yes.
You have to express that. And this is what I say, that the science is in expressing the value in a way that they can actually understand.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So the qualitative stuff is basically, it's the simple stuff in a way, isn't it? Because as you said, if you're a consultant, for example, a lot of consultants, they price by the hour, they price by the day. I mean, that is an absolutely standard way that people, oh yeah,
Yes.
I charge, 300, £400 a day or whatever it is in my daily rate. And what you're saying is that that is the wrong way to do it, to go
Uh,
about it.
yes, unfortunately, it's the default way. I know it is, and many clients count on it. And sometimes you have to do that, right? Some of my senior colleagues in other spaces talk about pricing portfolio. So
Yeah,
just like you have an investment portfolio, right? You don't put everything in anything. That's I think it's a good metaphor, at least,
yes,
that you have a pricing portfolio. So some clients you have to go by the hour because their company policies like that, and they're huge and they're inflexible, and there's nothing you can do about it, right?
yeah,
Until you're Seth Godin or somebody like
yeah.
that, right? Um, um, then some clients you can absolutely get to a fixed price, or productized service, or boxed in services like that. And then some clients you can value price, and these are going to be usually the highest value, um, which covers for a lot of things, but not everything can be done that way. And the problem with there's many problems with hourly pricing, but the main one is it doesn't scale with your value at all. So um, imagine how imagine the expert that you were 3 years ago. You were quite the expert, but now you're a much better expert, right?
Yeah,
And especially when people start out, so in the first 10 years of their experience, they grow at a very high pace. Sometimes it never slows.
yeah,
Sometimes it peaks a bit. But so um, somebody with 2 years of experience, and then the same person 3 years after that is like 3 times the expert that they were with 2 years of experience,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have 3 times the price. Maybe they have 20% higher price than
Mm-hmm.
they had with 2 years of experience, and maybe they have 50%, but they don't have the 300%. And the joke is that in 3 years more time, they are going to be at least double the expert that they were
Mm-hmm.
with 5 years
Yeah.
experience, but they won't have. So it it absolutely doesn't scale as it should, because
Yes.
you sooner or later you hit the ceiling, and somebody says,
Mhm.
I'm not going to pay you $1,000 per hour, whatever, right? Whatever the value, I cannot look at myself in the mirror and pay somebody like that. I'm not paid nearly that. I'm not paying you that. Go away, right? um and with value pricing, uh, that kind of a thing can happen, because nobody talks about the hours. My service has a fixed price, to help people raise their price, usually about 40%. I usually say between 15 and 50. I have done more, I have never done less, but it has a fixed price, and it's 6 to 8 weeks. And people say, how is it a fixed price if it's 6 to 8 weeks? I said sometimes it's 10, but the fixed price is always fixed, because I'm not selling you my time. I'm selling you the result. And if it takes me 12 weeks or 14 weeks, that never happened, but if it does, I don't care. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't care, right? You're paying for the value, right?
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, if I could do it in 15 minutes, the price would still be the same, because the value is still the same. And you don't care how many. It would actually be a better service, because you wouldn't need 16 to 20 hours of your time to get it. If I could snap my fingers and it works, I would still charge the same, right? That's value pricing. It has nothing to do with inputs. It has nothing to do with outputs. It has to do with outcomes, right? It has the darker side. If a client is particularly difficult, you can lose money on him or her. Yes, absolutely. But in most cases, you'll gain much more than you would um, normally. So it evens out. And it evens out quite favorably, right? And that's the idea. Okay, that's the idea.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you, Philip, is about guarantees,
Hmm.
because a lot of people, I see a lot of people, in my industry, there's a lot of gurus, right? Everybody knows that. You see all these people, coming, on YouTube ads or
Yes,
Facebook or whatever, and they make a lot of big claims. Oh, a lot of big claims, that I'm going to get you to, 10x your income in 10 days or so. I mean, maybe not as extreme as that, but the claims are excessive a lot of the time.
for sure.
Um, and hardly believable, but of course some people do believe them, because I think, when people are, they're really feeling in need, they want to have that kind of hope put in front of them, that yes, this is possible for me. Um, is it Do you advocate the use of guarantees? So let's say if somebody said, yeah, you're gonna, 10x your income in, okay, it wouldn't be 10 days, but said 10x your income in 3 months or something like that. What do you think about, because that's a hard thing, it's a hard thing for people to do. And so what tends to happen is people, these gurus or whatever, they turn around, well, you didn't put in the work. Of course you didn't put in the work. That's why you haven't 10x your income, because I told you to do this, that, and the other, which is of course completely unachievable in the time that was set.
Absolutely.
So therefore, it's on you. And generally that is what happens. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas a
So,
lot of, yeah, just some people offer guarantees as a way of making it a no-brainer. So I'd just be interested to know
mhm.
what you think about guarantees. Are they just a tool for the cynical and manipulative, or are they genuinely worth doing?
Depends on the guarantee, of course.
Uh-huh.
But it is absolutely fair to say that you cannot guarantee for something that you cannot control, right? So if I can, um, if I can't make the client get out of bed and do something, um, then I can't guarantee the result. Absolutely. So you can only guarantee for what you can control.
Yeah,
Otherwise, uh, you are responsible for something that you can't affect, uh, which is a recipe for stress. To be exact, most of
definite.
what stress is that you are liable, you are responsible for something that you can't control, right?
Yeah,
We need to be somewhere on some meeting and there's a rush and we can't move for an hour and a half and we experience stress, right? um but also, um and I'm not maybe directly addressing the miracle workers, because selling hope is always going to be an industry. It's probably one of the oldest industries out there, right?
yeah,
um and whether we're talking about, hair regrowth stuff, or a lot of the beauty industry, or gurus
anti-aging and
of many kinds, and
get
and,
rich
and I'm talking about gurus here, right? The and I think there's a place for, let's say, fortifiers, maybe not guarantees. Now, um, let's say the the um, the client calculates along with you that their project is going to be 120,000 euros,
Mhm.
um, and you say, okay, that will cost you about 1,200. Uh, yes, no, yeah, 1,200 um 12,000, sorry,
12,000, yeah.
12,000. And they say, well, okay, but how do I know that it's going to work?
Mhm.
Of course you don't. If I priced it at a it will happen, then it would cost you 120,000, right?
Yeah,
It would cost you the full amount. That's what guarantee means. You
yeah,
would get 100% for 100%.
yeah,
But I'm only asking for 10% of the value. If you didn't think that I would be capable of delivering even that, you wouldn't be talking to me, right? So do I think it's a sure thing? Of course not. You know, a war can happen,
yeah,
corona can happen, something can happen. But I think there's a high chance of it happening. I can't pinpoint, but I can guess that there's at least 85% of it happening,
mhm.
right? And so do you, otherwise you wouldn't be wasting your time with me. And all the difference between 10%, which I'm asking, and 85, which is realistic, is your profit. And that's fine, right? That's fine. You're giving the money, I'm giving the expertise. That's good, right? So in that sense, guarantees are silly, because I can't control stuff, right?
Yeah,
I can guarantee that I will be working for 20 hours. That's not a problem. If that's going to make the result, well, that's a different question, right? But what I do, for my own, I don't call it a guarantee, but I say, everybody who works with me is only has only graduated, let's say, once they actually sell something at the higher price. I don't give them the knowledge and they say, "Good luck, I have your money." Um, but so I provide continual coaching, which is not always a lot. People make a proposal and they send it to me, and I comment it, and maybe we have a half an hour chat where I steal their nerves, and then we role play something, and sooner or later, everybody sells at the higher price, and then I'm done. Right? If they would like anything else from me, now that gets a surcharge, but this is included in the price. So I can't guarantee that they're going to sell at a higher price, but I can do whatever is reasonably within my power to help them do that, right? And so that's not a guarantee that if they don't, I can't find clients for them, right? And I can't go into negotiations for them. If they don't act upon it, they won't. But
Yeah.
that's rare. So this is somewhere in between. So I call it a fortifier. It's not a guarantee, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a fortifier. And I'm not saying I don't care if you sell or you don't sell, right? And this, along with the fixed price,
Mm-hmm.
creates a very nice alignment of incentives. So I
Yeah.
have no incentive to push them through the material as fast as I can, to spend as little time as possible, because then they will be forever in the I'm allowed to ask you for coaching phase, right? And also, if we have to do something again, or we have to, take another hour or something, they don't even think, really, do we really need that, or do you just want more money from me, right? Because I'm not getting any more money. If I propose we take some more time, I'm actually lowering my own profitability, which is fine, but that makes it believable, right? And then everybody says, okay, if you say we do, right? So there's trust in the alignment of incentives. I'm sorry, have I answered your question?
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really interesting. A very, very interesting perspective. But as you were talking, I was just thinking you must have to be quite discerning about the clients that you take on,
Yes,
because there are
picky is
some
the word.
people who they're just not very good at articulating themselves. They're not very good at selling their services. And the thing is, you can't teach people how to communicate. So that because there's a whole the art of sales, if you like, is there's a lot to it, really, isn't there? So I guess
Sure,
first of all, you have to assess whether actually, and I suppose partly you go on people's track record, don't you? Have they sold services in the past? Are they,
for sure.
you wouldn't necessarily work with novices or complete
No,
beginners or people that had no idea how to sell their services,
no.
because that's a different market, isn't it?
Mid career is usually where it begins.
Yeah,
um, but usually people don't even think about their solo careers from the get-go. So um, I have about 30 to 50 clients a year,
yeah,
and I am picky, and I have said no to clients, but I say no before I take their money. So I have this process, and I absolutely have to be careful. And I have been wrong before, of course. Um, but it all turns out okay. And by the way, negotiation is a part of what I teach people. I teach them
yeah,
value communication,
yeah,
pricing, which is basically value communication written down,
yeah,
and then negotiation, which is making it stick, but just price negotiation. So
yeah,
so uh, um, I do help there, because otherwise I didn't do much, right? Theoretical, there's a joke and I like it. So the difference between theory and practice is, in theory they're both the same, in practice they're not.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I get that, I get that. So, what happens when, let's say your clients, they've rehearsed they totally understand now how to express their own value and, how to justify it so that people take them seriously at that price level. What then happens when they get pushback, in terms of the clients say, "Well, I just don't have that in the budget," or "I can't really afford that right now," because that is one of the biggest objections, isn't it, for everybody who is selling their services. "Look, I get it, but I just haven't got that money right now. I really can't afford this next level that you're talking about. I thought it was gonna be cheaper," or, whatever. So what would you advise people to say in that situation?
Well, it all comes back to the value, right?
Mhm.
um it's about, can they afford not to have it, right?
Yes.
um Look, if people don't have an idea of a important problem, they're not going to reach for an expert, and they're definitely not going to spring for an expert, pay for an expert.
Yeah.
So if I have small pain in my back, I just need to exercise more, right? I'll just take more walks with my dog.
Do a bit more stretching in the morning.
Yeah. So I don't need anybody, and I definitely don't need to pay anybody. And then one morning, I can't get up from my bed. And what I'll do at that point is get scared,
Hmm.
rightly, maybe, usually, and jump over all of the moderately priced, friendly priced experts, and reach for for somebody who I think is serious enough to address my problem at the level that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
Right. So until I think that I really have a problem, I may have a problem, but I don't think I have a problem. Until I do, I won't even reach for an expert. Once I reach for an expert, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble.
Hmm.
And then it's just the question of, are you that expert or not? Right? And sometimes people disqualify themselves with the price that is too low, because what we are as experts, all of us,
Hmm.
is basically um, confidence dispensers.
Yeah.
I have enough of confidence to face my back problem, right? Until I don't. And when I don't, I need somebody to borrow somebody else's confidence that everything is going to be okay, and I will be able to get up in the morning again, right?
Yes.
And I don't need somebody whose level of confidence is somewhere around mine. I need somebody much higher. Thank you very much, right?
Yes. Definitely.
And this is a big difference between conventional services and expert services.
Yes.
For conventional services, let's say you have to move, and I know you have to move, and I say, I know a moderately priced moving company next to you, and you will say, oh, thank you, right? But let's say, God forbid, that I know that you need the services of a brain surgeon, and I suggest a moderately priced brain surgeon. You would say, what? But if I suggest the best and most expensive, that's how we know that he's the best brain surgeon in Switzerland, you may or may not be able to afford it, but you will say, thank you. You're thinking of me, right? And if I gave you the address of the most expensive moving company, you would say, why did you do that? So there's a big difference. There's a big difference between services in general and expert services. Expert services are not interchangeable. It almost doesn't matter who moves your stuff, but it absolutely does matter who operates on your brain.
Oh, it really does. And I think in a way, if you're advising somebody as an expert, as a coach or consultant, or somebody who is providing some vital service, then it is in a way a little bit like brain surgery, because you are going to take that person's advice. And I've had a lot of mentors in my time, and I think some of them, they were absolutely fantastic. They gave me exactly the right advice at the right time. And other people, because, they were an authority, and I look back and I think, "Do you know what? They actually set me off on the wrong track at that particular time." So, we let these people into our life. We let experts into our life, and we trust them. And
Yeah.
the value of that expert is going to have a huge impact on our lives, so, or our businesses. So, I totally get that. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah. So if you're going to let somebody rummage around in your subconscious, like my client, the wonderful psychologist, you better make sure they have a diploma. And if you're going to, in your case, let somebody do something with your brand, reroute your brand, you better make sure that that person has loads of experience, just like you do, right?
Oh, right.
That's yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's been such an amazing conversation, Philip. I feel as though I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I think we're kind of out of time for this interview. But I just wanted to thank you for all your nuggets of wisdom and experience. It really has been a very illuminating and fascinating interview. So, so where can people get hold of you if they want to have a further conversation with you?
So I do a lot of my work on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
where I promote other channels. I have a quite popular newsletter, which is very short, which people like. Um, and I basically have an archive of my video stuff on YouTube. The main place where people can actually talk to me, I hold Q&A sessions every week. Sometimes in the 1 week in the morning, week in the evening, because I have a global audience. So evening and morning are fungible. Um, so people can get a hold of me for half an hour every week directly. Come and pose a question. As long as it has anything to do with value communication, pricing, or negotiation, I'm going to give them a straight answer. Not, have the answer now and half when you pay. No, I give straight answers. I record that and I put that on YouTube, so they can everybody can actually see how that looks. And I do also do some professional videos with an animated co-host, and it's all fun. So basically, LinkedIn mainly, and then there's some side stuff. And I
Yeah.
hope you'll put a link to my link tree somewhere
Oh,
at the end.
definitely, definitely. Okay, well, thank you so much, Philip. It's been such a pleasure to have you here tonight,
Likewise.
and I look forward to re-engaging with you very soon.
Deal.